Hey, what's up guys? It's Clint Coons here, and in this video, I'm going to explain to you what a land trust is and how it can actually help you with your investing. All right, let's get started. Okay, so what is a land trust? If you're not familiar, you haven't watched my other videos on land trusts, glad you're here, you're clicked on this video because I'm going to explain to you what a land trust is, and then I'm going to talk about how it can help you with your investing. So a land trust, all right, is basically a revocable trust agreement like a living trust. A land trust is comprised of three parties, all right? You have a trustee, okay? Trustee, you're all probably familiar what a trustee is, and now I'm going to challenge you. It doesn't have to be an individual. It can also be an entity. I have a video. We'll put that in the show links. If you want to know just about trustees for land trusts, I got a great video on that talks about using Wyoming LLCs as a trustee. But the fact of the matter is, in any type of trust agreement, you need to have a trustee. You also need to have a beneficiary, okay? So land trust is comprised of a trustee and a beneficiary. And you have up here what's called a grantor. That is the person that creates the trust. So to create a land trust is you got to have three parties here in that trust agreement that have come together. Now this could be the same person. I wouldn't always recommend that, but it could be you here, and you here. So when we create this, what we're doing is we're basically setting up a legally recognized vehicle, okay, I'm going to refer to as a vehicle, that can hold title to property, hence the word land trust. So it's a title holding trust is what a land trust is, all right? So when you're thinking about this, just think about it as title holding, meaning that it can hold title to your real estate like this. So what a land trust has been used for years, and I'm talking a long, long time, to hold title to real estate to get it out of an individual's name. Because we realize there are some issues that come up with holding real estate, especially from an asset protection standpoint. You know, people know that you're on title. If they file a judgment against you, it would stick to your property if the property's held in your name. So by putting your property into a trust, you're removing it from your name, and you're then essentially making that asset, if properly structured, immune to potential judgments that are recorded against you in the county in which you live. So the trust itself is just an agreement, right? It's something that's written up. It's not recorded anywhere. And so the terms of this agreement, this land trust agreement, think of like a contract that you're entering into to buy a piece of property from someone or to sell them some product. You specify the terms of that contract. Under what terms will I buy it? Under what terms can you return that item? And you list all those things out inside of that contract. Well, it's the same way with a trust. A trust is a contract. You specify how much control we want to provide the trustee, how much control we're going to give the beneficiaries, what rights they have with respect to the trust assets. And so you can delineate all this in the agreement, when the assets will be sold and how those funds would be distributed. All that gets put together in that land trust agreement. And the thing about the trust document itself is that when you build this trust out, it's completely private, meaning that this document, unlike a limited liability company where you have to go to the Secretary of State and pay a fee to record it, you don't have to do that with the land trust. It's a completely private document. No one knows about its existence other than if they looked up title to a piece of property and they saw that it was held in a trust name. That would then clue them in that there's a trust. They don't even know that it's a land trust that's holding title to that particular property, but they don't know the terms under which that title is held because that trust agreement isn't recorded anywhere. So a land trust is a great tool, especially for beginning investors who are just getting started in real estate, to take title to real estate to keep it out of their name. Because by putting property in your name, there's issues that come up with that from an asset protection and liability standpoint. And so whatever we can do to make sure that we're minimizing where my name appears on title, the better off you're going to be should something happen, such as a lawsuit with your tenants or with you individually, because maybe you entered into a lease agreement on an office space and you walked away from it and somebody comes after you and they obtain a judgment against you. So it's a great tool to hold title to real estate. And that is how it's used predominantly in the US for real estate. Now, what are some of the benefits? Why would you want to set up a land trust and how would we use it? Well, number one, why would I want to use a land trust? Because I don't want to hold title in my name, like I've been talking about. So that's the first reason why. I don't. So how do I do that? Well, I have to come up with a trustee that's not me. That's why if you watch my trustee video, I talk about using possibly a limited liability company as your trustee. And so that way it gives you anonymity, so that if I took title that was once in my name that had Clint listed on it and I transferred into this trust and I call this trust the Funky Charlie Trust with Blue Box LLC as its trustee. Now, if somebody looks at title to this property, they're no longer going to see my name. They're going to see the trustee's name and the name of the trust on title. So now I've just provided myself anonymity. So that's a compelling reason to set one of these up. Another compelling reason why people like to use land trusts is this beneficiary aspect down here. So with a land trust, when you become the beneficiary, what makes it unique, say compared to a living trust, is that you can transfer this ownership while you're alive. Maybe you want to put your beneficial interest into a limited liability company down here for asset protection purposes. So you take the beneficial interest and you just assign it over to your LLC. You just transfer it. It's one piece of paper. That's it. So you're no longer the owner of your trust here. Now your LLC becomes the owner of the trust and you own the limited liability company. Now I'm being very generic here in the way I'm drawing this out, meaning that many times we'll have a Wyoming LLC down here. So in the comments, if you say, well, Clint, what about the Wyoming LLC? You've mentioned that many times in your videos. I get it, but I'm not fleshing all that out. I'm just kind of showing you truly why we would use this. Now, this property here that's held in the trust, when I take the trust and I assign my beneficial interest to this LLC over here, the beauty of having the land trust and why people use it is because that assignment, that transfer of beneficial interest, that's not recorded anywhere. So no one knows, if they look at title about this trust, since they can't see the trust document, who actually owns the trust. Is it Clint? Is it a limited liability company? Is it a third party? So the ability to transfer title to real estate via this trust document makes it extremely attractive to a lot of real estate investors. You know, I was being interviewed by R.E. Simply. I've actually interviewed Sherrod as well on my channel. You can check out his video. It's a great product when it comes to managing your real estate investments. Well, we were talking about using a land trust. He uses many in his videos or for his own investing. And I mentioned to him something that he'd never heard of before. I said, hey, another benefit of using the land trust and why people want to use it is if you're flipping real estate to investors. Let's say that you buy property and a lot of times people maybe buy it at auction and then you flip that property to an investor. Okay, so if you're flipping property to investors, the land trust can really help you. Let me show you what I mean by that. So if I take title to my real estate inside of a limit or inside of a land trust, all right, since I clean my board, now things are going crazy here. So if I take title inside of a land trust like this for that property, and then I find an investor over here that I'm going to flip this property to, right? And that investor is going to do the rehab work on the property. Well, by having it in a land trust, I'll transfer this investor my actual land trust. So I'll sell them the land trust that holds the property rather than transfer them the property directly. Now, if you're watching me going, why does that matter? Well, check this out. So when this investor rehabs this property here and then sells it to these first-time home buyers that want to treat that as their personal residence, many times they're going to qualify under VA or Freddie or Fannie financing, depending on what they are, and there are seasoning requirements for that property. That is, if that property had been flipped, so I originally buy it from this party up here, they sell it to me, then I sell it to them, they want to sell it to them. If they haven't seen that the property's been held by the same owner for at least 6 months, these people can't qualify for financing. So if you want to make sure that you can ensure that your buyers to your properties can qualify for financing, if they're first-time homeowners or they're qualifying under some special Freddie Fannie loans, which typically have a seasoning requirement, the land trust is the way to go. Because Once you take title in the land trust, then as long as title's still held there, if it's held for 6 months between me selling to this investor and him doing the rehab work while it's held in the trust and he sells it to them, you will meet those seasoning requirements. So that's one of the main reasons why I think land trusts are extremely effective for people, investors who are flipping property using this type of document. Or if you're going to wholesale property, putting it together in a land trust or a wholesale trust so that you've got the property tied up under contract. You know, I've done this a lot with HUD. You tie it up under contract in the trust name, and then you kick the trust over to the investor. So now the seller cannot object to closing because they agreed to sell it to the trust. They weren't agreeing to sell it to the beneficiaries. If you want to move properties around between your entities, let's say I have some LLCs set up here. I've got 2 LLCs, and I made a mistake, and I put 2 land trusts in 1 LLC. Now I decide I want to reduce my liability exposure, so I create a 3rd LLC. Well, all I have to do is assign the interest over here to transfer it out of LLC number 2 over here to LLC number 1, and no one's going to know about that. Whereas a lot of times what will happen, people own property directly in the LLCs, right? And then to get that property over here, they have to deed the property out to themselves. So they deed it out to themselves, and then they deed it up into the limited liability company. So they have 2 recordings. So the ease of property movement is a great feature of using a land trust. Listen, if you've not used a land trust before, you're not sure if it can benefit you, I guarantee you it can do wonders for your investing. I've been using them for 20 years with my own real estate investing, and our clients have been using them as well. You want to learn more about land trusts? Well, come to my one-day tax and asset protection workshop. I got a link below in the show notes. It'll take you there. It's completely free. I'll be teaching about how to set this tool up and how it can benefit not only protecting your residential real estate, I'll show you how a little change to this trust can also protect your personal residence. Thanks, guys.